Perfect timing.
I'm over in the little boardroom, by the way, Deanne, so.
Okay, everyone, I guess we're ready to go. I'd like to call the meeting to order for Victoria County Council for April the 25th. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody, and we would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held in Unamaki, one of 7 traditional districts of the Mi'kmaq, and the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and the first order of business is to approve the agenda as presented. So the agenda has presented. Is there any additions to the agenda before we proceed?
Yeah, Deputy Warden, I sent an email earlier this morning on the, FCM Board of Directors. So I'd like to add that to the agenda, please. Thank you.
Okay, we'll put that down under motions and stuff. FCM Board.
Thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the edit or the addition that was just made by Councillor Patterson?
So moved.
Have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
I'll second.
Second
Either
by,
one.
I got Councillor McDonald there. So we have a seconder and the motion has been made. Everybody in favor indicate by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion passed. Thanks very much, guys. The first item on the agenda today is a presentation by Will and Courtney. It's the Ecology Action Center presentation. So if you guys are ready, maybe you can introduce yourself, and once you introduce yourselves, we'll have council introduce themselves also to you.
Sure, that's great. Thank you very much for having us today. We do have a presentation. We sent our presentation. Are you going to load that up, or do we have screen sharing privileges?
You would have screen sharing privileges, so go ahead and share that on your own if you can.
Yep.
So Courtney, before we proceed, are you familiar with all the councilors, or would you like them to introduce themselves?
I am not, so that would actually be very helpful while I'm getting this set up. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Maybe we can start with District 1 and work our way up. So if the councilors would like to identify themselves, and I would like to give regrets have been received from Councillor or Warden Morrison and Councillor Longva are not able to attend. So with that, maybe we can start with maybe Perla.
Hi, Larry. Perla just let me know that she's in as a guest because her link wasn't working, so she's not able to be. I don't think she can comment.
Okay.
But Perla McLeod is here.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe with that we'll move over to Paul.
Okay, my name is Paul McNeil, District 1 Councillor of the Iona, Voshvik Peninsula, Wagmacook, right to the Red Barn in Badek.
Okay, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you. My name is Fraser Patterson. I'm the councillor for District 5, which includes half of Bulladry Island, which is right in the center of the lake. And nice to see you people, and looking forward to your presentation.
Thanks, Councillor. My name is Larry Doffney. I'm Deputy Warden and Councillor for the Ingonish Beach area. And with that, I'll pass it off to Councillor Organ.
Hi, I'm Jackie Organ, District 7 Councillor from Ingonish area, right down through Neils Harbor, Smelt Brook, White Point area.
And Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thanks, Deputy Warden. My name is Norman McDonald, District 8 Councillor up at the top of the island, which starts at South Harbor, goes through Dingwall, Cape North into Bay St. Lawrence on the side of the Capstick line.
Thanks very much, guys. And maybe Will or Courtney, we'll pass it back to you, and maybe yourself and Will can introduce yourselves.
Yes, fabulous. Can you see my screen and my presentation well?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, great. Thank you again. Specifically, I'd like to thank Councillor Longva, who invited us to join. I don't believe the councillor is able to be with us today, but she was keen to have us talk about our organization, the Ecology Action Center, the work we do, and more specifically as it relates to climate change, make some recommendations for what Victoria County could do to act on climate. I'll start by introducing myself and my co-presenter. My name is Courtney Dunsby, and I am the Sustainable Cities Coordinator at the Ecology Action Center. I predominantly work on urban planning issues in Halifax Regional Municipality, specifically through the lens of sustainability and sustainable growth. And Will, if you're there and you'd like to pop on, say hi and introduce yourself, I'll let you do that now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Will Balser, the Coastal Adaptation Coordinator here at the Ecology Action Center. Primarily work on coastal development policy, both at the provincial, municipal, and federal level, and also, on bringing in nature-based solutions and living shoreline techniques to the way that we sort of relate and build within coastal environments.
Great, thank you. So I'll start by just introducing our organization. The Ecology Action Center was founded over 50 years ago in 1971, actually by a group of students at Dalhousie University. We have since then grown in many ways, both physically and in terms of our staff. We now have over 45 staff across 7 action teams. And we work with our membership of over 4,500 members all across Nova Scotia, as well as some pretty dedicated volunteers on our projects, which we'll chat a little bit more about. And this here is just a photo of our beautiful energy efficient building in Halifax's North End neighborhood, which, you know, if you were ever in town, you would always be welcome to come and visit. Briefly, I'd like to just highlight our newly reestablished vision, mission, and values, and just let you know that really we see ourselves as holding many different roles in the not-for-profit space, including as a watchdog to government in terms of reviewing policy and legislation, advocacy at all levels of government, as well as a convener of our community and mobilizer around important environmental and social justice issues when necessary. And lastly, as an incubator insofar as building programs and projects that showcase really innovative and more sustainable ways to do things and to live out our values and that sort of thing. So what we work on, Will and I are just 2 of a very broad team, as I mentioned. The 7 action teams here on the screen. Collectively, we do work at all levels of government, built environment, that's me, energy and climate, folks who are working more on energy efficiency, issues of buildings, electric vehicles, for example, as well. Our wilderness team who are working on protected areas and biodiversity across Nova Scotia. You may be very familiar with their most recent West Mabou Beach campaign. I think that's located fairly close to you. Our marine team who are working on aquaculture, predominantly in the South Shore, also experimenting with farming eelgrass down there, which is a very cool new initiative. Transportation, working on both the planning side of things as well as active transportation, getting folks on bikes. You might be familiar with our traveling pop-up bike hub that goes all across Nova Scotia, as well as a cycling safety program we have in Cape Breton Regional Municipality. And then food, in terms of food security, which is extremely relevant to climate change. You might talk more about that. And last but not least, coastal and water. And I won't speak for Will. I know Will will talk at length about this work shortly. And I did want to mention, this is not at all an exhaustive list of what we work on. I would really encourage you to either check out our website, or if you have questions, Will and I will do our best to answer them. But if we cannot on specific programs that might be relevant to your municipality, we'll definitely connect you with the folks who can. And so really we're here today to talk about climate change and climate action. It is no secret that our climate is changing, it's warming up. The Nova Scotia Department of Environment and Climate Change recently released their climate change risk report, which is cheekily named Weathering What's Ahead. The science is there. It's hard to refute or argue at this point. Due to increased greenhouse gas emissions in our atmosphere, temperatures will continue to rise. This here is quite a visual map of how temperatures have risen just over a few decades there. The report does predict that Nova Scotia will experience daytime temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius for more than 2 weeks in a year consecutively, which is quite warm for us historically. We'll also have less snow, which might be welcome, but we'll have much more rain and more intense rain and more intense storms and weather events. I think the frequency of our large scale hurricanes and hurricane seasons is evident of that, as well as sea level will continue to rise, and some more technical changes around ocean temperature, acidity, and oxygen levels will have impacts not just on our environment, but on our communities and our economies as well. So thinking about drought and flooding and how that affects our homes, our buildings, our systems, our infrastructure, our ability to farm and produce food. It also affects things like the cost of food and energy poverty. Those are challenges that are really prevalent in more rural centers as well. And so I can't underline enough that taking action and starting to think about climate and integrating climate action into your policy, in your budget now really is an investment into saving money in the future and for the well-being of your residents and constituents. And so at this point, I will hand it over to Will to talk about Victoria County specifically and actions that can be taken in regards to mitigation, adaptation, and policy.
Great. All right. Thanks, Courtney. And thanks again, everyone, for having me. I know this is a picture of PEI, so I promise it is a point about Victoria County. I haven't got my wires that crossed. I wanted to point out just this photo there, but a sort of infamous photo post Hurricane Fiona in late September of 2022 here. This is PEI and the Northumberland shore, just several days after Fiona, to sort of mark that climate change is not sort of an impending crisis necessarily, but something that we're already starting to see ramp up. And Fiona is you don't need to look much further than Fiona for that, because this is just a bit of bad luck for this part of the Maritimes, where it happened to line up with high tide and a not particularly powerful post-tropical cyclone pulled, in some cases, 30 feet of depth out of sand dunes on PEI and the Northumberland shore. Again, decades worth of erosion over a matter of hours. So just to give you the rundown on, I guess, Nova Scotia provincially, we've got about 13,000 kilometers of shoreline, and with only about a 20-kilometer wide stretch of land called the Chignecto-Wismouth connecting us to the mainland, keeping us from being an island. Got over 70% of our population living in coastal communities, which I'm sure you're not any different there in Victoria County. Probably more people honestly living in coastal areas, I think, compared to the rest of the province. And as Courtney mentioned, we're also subject to higher than average sea level rise rates, even compared with the rest of Canada. We're looking at probably a minimum of 1 meter by 2100. So it certainly doesn't bode well for a lot of our low lying and high erosion prone areas. And again, as Courtney mentioned, storms increasing in intensity and frequency. Big part of that is increasing temperatures in the oceans, the cooling, calming effect that the northern Atlantic has on those, the energy of a hurricane as it comes up towards us, and as it warms, we're sort of losing our shield. We're going to be experiencing more intense and more frequent storms. So things like Fiona will become, I think, quite commonplace as we move through hurricane season, September, October of every year. It's a matter of luck and timing, whether it lines up with your area's high tide. But sort of, again, past a point of long-term conversation, we're already into feeling the effects of changing climate. Next slide there, Courtney. And there is an awful lot of conversation about what can be done about climate change. We've been talking for a number of years now, at least 2 decades in the public sphere, about mitigation, about reducing our waste, about changing to active transportation, electric vehicles, reducing emissions, trying to reduce the scale of the climate change that's going to occur in the future, which is an excellent proactive step. But because we're still polluting more year on end, and because these kind of things are cumulative, we need to take that, preventing things from getting any worse. We need to put that hand in hand with adapting to a climate that we recognize is already changing. And that is through things like recognizing wildfires, preparing for increased temperatures, preparing for more intense storms, as I mentioned, preparing for flooding and increased sea levels, especially in coastal areas. So we'll go to the next slide. And in terms of coastal adaptation, one of the primary tools that municipalities are vested with in their power is the land use bylaw regulations, or rather land use regulations. And that can also be attached through a climate action plan, a municipal planning strategy, and executed through a land use bylaw, all of which need to have clear, attainable measures to address the climate crisis, and a detailed plan on how that not only is going to occur sort of step by step and how that's going to be enforceable, but also, clear levels of funding commitments. These things don't just happen without any level of funding or enforcement or development, and accountability mechanisms there, and sort of, I guess, mechanisms to update and check in on your plans and your techniques as you move forward through climate adaptation. And I guess, on a broader level, when we talk about the Coastal Protection Act, which I'm sure a lot of you are quite familiar with at this point, and was unfortunately just delayed again a couple of weeks ago. There are things that I can suggest that a municipality, can have as kind of a do for coastal development, in terms of, waiting for a Coastal Protection Act to come in place. But at the end of the day, expecting all 49 municipal units across the province to pass their own coastal development regulations is the least efficient and expedient way of having good coastal development regulations in place. So my big ask is that you contact Minister Hallman and Premier Houston and get your local MLAs on board and push the government towards releasing the Coastal Protection Act sooner than later, or potentially, even asking for a moratorium like we and other municipalities have been asking for, because I don't know, it's been 12 years at this point. We've had the regulations, been waiting for them for 4 years. So I think it's well timed that we had consolidated coastal regulations in Nova Scotia. We'll go to the next slide there. But all that to be said, there is absolutely nothing in the Coastal Protection Act, proposed regulations, or in the legislation that would prevent you from going a little further than the Coastal Protection Act, or getting a little finer detail than something provincial. So obviously something that the Coastal Protection Act is using is horizontal setbacks and shoreline buffers. If you are looking at a coastal regulations in your land use bylaw, I would highly encourage the use of the word buffer as opposed to setback, whereas setbacks cannot be varied under an application for a variance. And obviously the same thing with Coastal Protection Act, minimum building elevations above sea level. These are really critical for not only ensuring people are far back enough, but also ensuring that a habitable floor level is not at or in some cases below sea level with diked areas. A little bit further than the Coastal Protection Act, you can look at sensitive ecosystem buffers, or sort of tidally influenced waters as well. You can look at buffers around estuaries or buffers around Barachois ponds, or maybe what people would call a barrier beach, areas that aren't necessarily tidally influenced right now, but surely will be at some point. A spit of gravel preventing that lake from being tidally influenced. And again, getting more regionally specific. Again, the Coastal Protection Act is going to be looking at site-specific regulations for horizontal setbacks, but there's nothing stopping you from going a little further and saying, that takes into account an 80 to 100-year flooding. Maybe we want to look at a less optimistic sort of measure of or prediction of how much the sea levels are going to rise over the next century. And I think a big gap in the Coastal Protection Act is encouraging nature-based solutions. So not just pointing towards armor rocking and rock sills and concrete walls or steel walls as the only way of preventing erosion, but working with natural ecosystems and planting of native salt-resistant and erosion-resistant plants, and reducing mowing up to the actual cliff's edge, and reducing the amount of vegetation on a lot, are all things that we can do individually and as a community on community lands to sort of slow down coastal climate change and sort of adapt to a climate that we already recognize is changing rather quickly. So those are my big suggestions. Go to the next slide there. I think that's towards the end. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, folks. I know we're on a tight timeline here, but Will and I would be happy to answer any questions about our presentation or the organization more broadly. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thanks very much there, Courtney and Will. Great presentation. And yeah, we're all very familiar with the Coastal Protection Act, and we do have some issues with it here in Victoria County. But maybe we'll go around the room, see if there's any questions, and maybe we will start up on the top of the island with Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Warden. Thank you, folks, for your presentation. A lot of great information there. Just curious, is there any other means of advocacy for us other than municipal unit? You had mentioned earlier that they're contacting our MLAs and the Premier. And is there any other avenues that we could take other than that to try to, it seems, did you say it was 10 years in the making and still not much movement?
Yeah, so this conversation started with the NDP around 12 years ago, maybe 13 now, with being 2023. And we had the the legislation received royal assent in 2019, and the regulations, the actual enforceable, sort of nuts and bolts of the act have been in development for 4 years at this point, with multiple rounds of engagements with municipalities, industry, and the public. So I think we're well past due, and we had a statement from the minister in September of 2022 saying that the regulations were almost done and would be out in early 2023, only for that to get delayed again about 3 weeks ago. So in terms of advocacy, yeah, I think the big thing is municipalities getting together and contacting the province, and also working with NGOs like ourselves on letter campaigns or potentially joint statements in the future with us and academic groups and a number of other municipal units. I think the more people across the province we can get calling for the same thing, the better.
Great, thank you for that. That's it, Deputy Warden.
Thanks very much, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Thanks for the presentation. It's interesting. You talk about the temperature rise over, I think it was 61. I was actually born before that. So, but I remember as a kid, the snowbanks being up to the power lines, and I remember we lived in a rural area in a farm, a car on the road that had been driving was buried in snow. All you could see was the aerial. So, I mean, we just don't have winters like that anymore. It's amazing how things have changed so quickly. So again, thanks for your presentation. As Deputy Warden mentioned, we're very familiar with coastal erosion. I think any one of us in any of our districts can drive probably 5-10 kilometers and we can find an area that has been affected by it. So it's a real problem. And unfortunately, our predecessors decided to put a lot of roads along the coast because, of course, that was the convenient thing to do at the time. So now we have pieces of asphalt falling into the lake or the rivers or whatever. So it is a real concern for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Organ.
Hi, thanks for the great information there. As you might know, District 7 was hit very hard with coastal erosion by Fiona. I've spoken to our MLA and also the council about what we should do. It's like everything else in the government. The more we do, the slower it gets. So, but we'll keep keeping on and keep on them to get something done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Organ. Councillor McNeil.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. And yeah, again, thanks for the presentation. Lots of good information. With smaller municipalities, like with the Coastal Protection Act, we're all for the act and everything, but it's just to get the people to administer the policies. And it's hard for a small municipality to take that on. And we're kind of after the provincial government to have people watch these regulations for us. So would you be able to like take that to the provincial government and show, tell them that it is hard for small municipalities to regulate this?
Yeah, absolutely. That's been one of my recommendations since I became involved in the Coastal Protection Act consultation process, is that that we need to limit the amount of impact on municipal building officials and development officials right from the get-go. We are already understaffed across the province in almost every planning department. So additional work on municipal units needs to be limited as much as possible. This needs to be, I think, almost as streamlined a process as on-site septic permits are being approved in that sort of same way. It's integrating into the building permitting process. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Councillor McNeil. Councillor McLeod is here also, but I believe she's having some technical issues. I'll just put it at once. Perla, can you talk, or are you still in as a guest? Hearing nothing, maybe go back to myself there. Thanks very much, guys, for the presentation. Excellent presentation. And Councillor McNeil made a very valid point. That's one of the things we are struggling with as a municipality. We don't have the resources or finance to enforce or administer the Coastal Protection Act. And it's one of our main things that we've been going to the government about to see if we can actually see if they will take over some ownership of it and do it. The other thing, it's very hard in rural areas, especially on the Cabot Trail, Ninginish, Neils Harbor area. It's mountain to sea, so the only development area we have is next to the coastline. One of the things that I've read in the thing, and I'm just wondering if you correct me if I'm wrong, in the Coastal Protection Act, but it only applies to rural areas. It does not apply to urban areas. Is that correct? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, they're defining developed waterfrons or working waterfronts as not being within the coastal zone of control under the Act. At least that's all that we have, in terms of proposed information from 2021 was the last public release of sort of any sort of detailed walkthrough of what they're looking at doing in the Act. But as far as I'm aware, yeah, that's still the same plan, is to exclude downtown or working waterfronts from the regulations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things residents have been complaining to me about. They go up to Halifax, they go downtown, they see all the construction and development right on the ocean, right on the harbor. No concern about coastal protection or erosion. Yet rural areas are being asked. So from a public's standpoint, and I'm hearing a lot of it, very upset with it that we are being forced to protect our areas when other people are not, and all it does is limit our economic development. And we're struggling economically, so that's one of the other things when you're discussing with the province you may want to bring up. But kind of late now to do much in Halifax for those urban areas to protect, but I'm sure there are still the sections that should be protected. But again, thank you very much for your presentation. It's greatly appreciated, and I'm sure Councillor Long would be glad that you did show up and present this. And if we can be of any assistance down the road, please keep us in mind, and feel free to email us at any time if we can assist. But once again, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to make the connection.
Great. Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, guys. With that, we're going to move on to the second presentation, which is Destination Cape Breton. Terry Smith. Terry, are you available?
You just brought him in, might have to give him a second.
Sounds good. Thank you. We'll give.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I just it booted me out for a second. I'm back in. So thank you again for allowing me to give presentation on our plans for the upcoming year. And always good to be in Victoria County, even if it's virtually. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. So I'm going to just start with just a quick update on the marketing levy. So the last time I would have presented to you all, this was what we were talking about, changes to the marketing levy. So since that time, the province passed new amendments. And so the rules that we needed to have changed for levies have been put in place by the province. So that's as of November 2022. So what we did, and this is the same as what was done when the levy was first put in place. We drafted a new bylaw for all 5 municipalities and provided them. And it's just so that the levy will be consistent across municipalities. Of course, in each municipality, there will be a little bit of adjustments here and there, but we're hoping for the new bylaws to be as consistent as possible. So that would have gone through Leanne and the warden. And it just basically follows along the lines of what was discussed when I would have presented the recommended increase of the rate to 3%, and then having it apply to all fixed roof accommodations starting January 1st, 2024. So that's in motion. Just want to start with some results from the past year. So this past year, this is just showing our website traffic over the past 5 years. So our sessions hit a record this year. It was a record last year, but this year was even higher with 1.43 million sessions. So that's a 32% increase over 2022. So strong visitation of the site. We also saw really strong clicks from our website out to operators. And what that shows us is that there's a really strong interest in coming to the destination and intent to travel. So that's one thing that we look at as well. If we look at the visitation by our key markets, this just shows you over the past 5 years, the traffic from each of those markets. And you can see in the two green bars, the light and dark green bars, that would have been the pandemic years. Where it was depressed in Ontario and Quebec, but much higher in the Maritimes because that's where we put most of our emphasis for that period. But if you take a look at the light blue bar, Ontario, you can see the traffic. It's almost, it's like 2.5 times what it would have been in 2019. So really, really strong. Quebec, it's almost double what it was in 2019. The Maritimes, a little bit down from the pandemic years where we put more of a focus on the closer market, but still well above where it was in 2019. So really strong traffic from our key markets. But does that translate into business? Well, yes, it has. So this past year, we saw 455,000 room nights sold with registered accommodations across the island. That's the most in the past 5 years. If you look at this graph, you can see the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021 and how depressed it was, but we had a really good bounce back. And if we look at, we also measure short-term rental unit nights sold, or mainly Airbnbs. And this just shows you the unit nights sold in the past 5 years as well. They didn't have as much of a drop during the pandemic, but had still really strong recovery this past year with unit nights sold up 21% over 2019. So all in all, it was a really good recovery year, and our operators really needed to see that. So looking into the plans for this coming year, I'm just going to go on some highlights, but wanted to start with just the forecast for the year, what it's looking like. So there's been a slight introduction or a slight change in this forecast initially from TD Economics from when I sent this presentation out last week, but TD Economics is projecting that growth in Canada will be 0.8%, so a slight change, and the US is a little bit over 1% for 2023. So there had been discussion about a possible recession. What most economists are now saying is that the growth is slowing, but we won't have a recession. So that's what we're seeing. As well, Destination Canada in their fall tourism outlook, their research showed that even though we have things like inflation, geopolitical issues with Ukraine and so forth, there is a resilience in travel, and we had pent-up demand that really led to a strong bounce back season last year. But they're saying that they feel that there's still some pent-up demand and resilience in travel. And anecdotally, from our discussions with a number of operators around the island, they're telling us that bookings are looking pretty solid. So some are saying it's on par with last year. Some are saying it's a little bit ahead of last year. So that's really encouraging for the season ahead. So our goals, we have 4 main goals for this year: enhance the brand of Cape Breton Island. We're going to optimize domestic visitation for the greatest impact in all periods of the year. So we're going to focus on Canadian travelers in terms of the work we do. Tourism Nova Scotia will be focusing on the Northeast US and also UK and Germany. and then Destination Canada goes further beyond that internationally. We're also going to work with partners to mitigate supply side constraints. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. And we're going to focus on making strides to become a more sustainable and inclusive destination. Research. So our research tells us who's coming, why they're coming, how long they're staying, things like that. And we look at our audience in 3 categories: psychographic or behavioral. So we look at 2 segments that are defined by Destination Canada: authentic experiencers and cultural explorers. Those two groups, just to give you a sense of who they are people that are looking here. They're coming to experience great outdoors. They want to engage with culture. They want to taste local food, and they want to have opportunities where they can get to meet locals and rub shoulders with locals. So they're termed as learners. So people that want to come, they're not just looking to get away and lay on a beach. They're people that want to engage with the destination, and that's really a good match with who we are as a destination here in Cape Breton. Demographically, there's 2 main segments. The number 1 is empty nest couples that are 45 plus. And we also target young adults who are past their post-secondary education. So they are working, they have disposable income, but haven't reached family age yet. So they are in their 20s, maybe early 30s, and they put a high value on travel, and they do have disposable income. Geographically, as I mentioned, our top 3 markets are Ontario, the Maritimes, and Quebec, in that order. Western Canada, we've dabbled there in the past. We're going back into Western Canada a little bit as well this year. Just to highlight one project that it started this year. We're still working on collaborating with Cape Breton University on Cape Breton Island specific research. And this is something that there's lots of provincially focused research, but we've got a project that we're looking at targeting some geographic areas around the island. I hope to have this up and running by now. We've hit a couple of snags, but we're moving forward on this, and hope to have something a little bit more solid to share soon. But once we get there, it's going to give us, yourselves, and also tourism operators a lot more intelligence, I guess, that will help them make new decisions, whether that's where to market or should they invest right now, things like that. Product innovation is another area we work on. We're going to continue supporting our Mi'kmaq partners in their continued development. So we're working on a memorandum of understanding right now with the Nova Scotia Indigenous Tourism Enterprise Network, and that has a number of initiatives that will fall under that. We'll work on elevating the overall experience to meet the expectations of the target audience. There's something we're working on, a new initiative that we hope will be launched in the fall. Are continuing to grow the winter and shoulder seasons. So just for example, one of the things that we have coming up, we'll be launching in just a couple of weeks, is waterfall season. And this was an initiative that we launched last year as a way to drive incremental visitation, particularly from the regional market during May and June. So encouraging spring visitation when there's lots of water in our brooks and streams, and means that we've got really full waterfalls. So we're encouraging people to come and hike around the island and explore many of these waterfalls. So look for that to be launched very soon. And we have quite a few, I think, in your county. We also continuing to work on winter. This past winter, we worked on a bit of a pilot project with Cape Smoky and Celtic Lodge. Unfortunately, the snow situation didn't agree with us, so we're going to take another shot at that for this coming winter. So we'll be working closely with those two partners as well. And developing niche markets with growth potential. So one of the markets that we're looking at is sport fishing. So we collaborated with CEPI, Collaborative Environmental Planning Initiative, on a sport fishing assessment for the Bredora Lake that showed that there's great potential there. So that's an area that we're going to be working on along with CEPI and other partners. Also, marine tourism is an area that we've begun to focus on. I know just before we started, Dan had mentioned that, and so we've been working with Waterfront Badek, and St. Peter's Marina and Benyon Marina to look at collaborating around the Bredora Lake, specifically in terms of building the market for marine tourism. And I believe Waterfront Badek has then since brought Badek Marine into that. So more to come on that, but it's early days, but it's great to see partners working around the lake. And marketing. So our path to purchase, this is basically our marketing plan in a slide, but we use different tactics to target people at whatever stage of their planning cycle they are, whether they're just dreaming about, I want to get away, where am I going to go, to getting deeper into planning and looking at specific destinations, then to the decision to book, and then when they come here to experience the destination. So we have different tactics that we use all the way through. I'm not going to go through with all of this, but just wanted to emphasize that digital marketing is by far the biggest portion of what we do from a marketing standpoint. And related to that then is content development, whether that's working with travel, social media influencers, travel media, developing blog content, developing itineraries, things like that, that then gets shared through digital channels. So if you look at the whole program altogether, it's mainly digital. A couple of other highlights. So I should mention, continue the strong focus on digital marketing with a focus on increasing engagement. So I showed you we've had those really strong jumps in traffic to our website. Now our focus for this year is still keeping that traffic strong, but focusing on how can we get more of those folks that are coming to our website and converting them into a visit. So that's a main focus for this year. Leveraging technology for increased effectiveness. We've got a project that's underway right now that's looking at using AI to personalize the website experience for potential visitors. Hopefully we'll be launching that soon. And one thing that we're doing, we're reducing our investment in printed material. So we used to do a 60-page experience guide every year. We've discontinued that for sustainability reasons, and there's a cost factor as well. But we know we can get strong bang for our buck by reinvesting that into digital marketing while saving a few trees. So that's part of what we're going to do going forward. Enhancing our brand identity, we're going to do variations of our logo this year that will be in Mi'kmaq, Gaelic, French, and also doing seasonal treatments for fall and winter. Events. We're working on evolving our Events Cape Breton program. This is a program that we did have funding for a couple of years ago. The funding for that this was discontinued, but we've continued to work on this with partners and continue to focus on the attraction of events. But we're going to be looking at evolving that to also focus on new event creation, supporting partners that want to develop new events, and the innovation of current events. So if anyone has an event that they'd like to take to another level, that we will partner with them. So it's one of the things as we look forward to 2024, when we have more revenues from levies, that we will have a focus on building events, particularly that can drive more visitation in the shoulder and winter seasons. Our community festival events program is continuing. That's a program that we administer on behalf of ACOA and Victoria County and the other 4 municipalities. So that will be continuing this year. And we're also working on positioning the island as a premier small meetings and corporate retreats destination, and working with a number of partners in your county along those lines. In terms of destination development, you all would have received our Rise Again 2030 Destination Development Plan. This is the vision from that plan. I'm not going to read it all, but you can go back and take another look. But we will be taking steps every year to look at that plan and set priorities from the plan. And there actually are quite a few things that are in motion. But our priorities for this year, 3 main things that we're going to focus on: working with partners to address the labor shortage. So over the past year, we've collaborated with Cape Breton Partnership, with Cape Breton University, and specifically their Cape Breton Island Tourism Training Network project, and also from the province, Labor Skills and Immigration, on a number of initiatives. We did back in the fall, we did some workforce solutions sessions across the island. We also just recently did recruitment readiness webinar, and we're doing some targeted things as well with some partners. So there are some things that we're doing with selection of partners that are year-round operators that give them an opportunity to tap into some additional immigration streams. So that's one thing we're looking at. We're developing a sustainable tourism plan for the island. That's one thing that we'll be doing. I just completed a sustainable tourism fast track, it's called, from an organization called Green Step, which gives us basically a template to follow in terms of developing that plan. So we'll be reaching out to a number of partners to work on that in collaboration over the next few months. And as I mentioned, enhancing the position of Cape Breton Island as a marine tourism destination. That's something that we're going to continue working on as well. And that's it. So a lot of information, but happy to take any questions, and I'll stop sharing.
Thanks very much, Terry. Excellent presentation as always, and really do appreciate all the hard work that you and your crew have been doing for Cape Breton. It's probably one of the best things I think we ever did in Nova Scotia was start our own marketing development. So great to see. Maybe what we'll do is go around the table, and I'll start at with Councillor McNeil down in District 1.
Thank you, Deputy Warden, and thank you, Terry, for the presentation. One thing I didn't see in the presentation was the cruise ships again, and they are important to the area, especially the Highland Village in my district. Has the cruise ship industry come back from before pandemic?
Absolutely, yeah. This year is actually going to be a record year in terms of ship visits, and from what they tell us, the passenger counts, you never know until the ship actually gets here, but the passenger counts are looking really good. So I think the challenge is going to be managing the growth this year, but definitely they will be back and back really strong.
And one other question, if you don't mind, just like everybody knows, the Cabot Trail is the icon of Cape Breton, and visitors go there. Is there more advertising and signage available to get those visitors to the center of the island and out beyond the Cabot Trail?
So one of the things that we have to do, I mean, the Cabot Trail is the #1 reason why people come to Cape Breton Island. It's actually the #1 icon motivator for the province overall. And so oftentimes what we have to do is rely upon the Cabot Trail, and we highlight a number of things in our marketing, but the Cabot Trail is usually what we have to put on the hook that gets people interested. And then once we get them to our website, then the job is to, how do we educate them more on everything there is to do on the island? And so that's part of our ongoing strategy, and that comes with the content we develop and so forth. But I mean, Central Cape Breton has something that I think is the envy of a lot of people in the Highland Village, and you know, having some great accommodations there, and frolicking folk, and you know, just across the water. I know it's a different municipality, but the
Yep.
Grand Narrows Hotel and things like that, you know, it's definitely a drawing card for people. So and Highland Village, you know, with the new addition, it looks fantastic, and I think you'll be seeing lots of people going there, and we'll certainly be doing our part to draw people there as well.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor McNeil. We'll move on to try once again with Councillor McLeod, see if she has got overcome the technical issues.
Yeah, I'm here now. Sorry, I have a technical issues. Thank you, Terry, for the presentation. Was very great to see. We're going to get a little more busy season, and we're looking forward to all the projects, and hopefully our staff's workforce will be ready to the numbers that we're expecting.
Great.
You're muted, Larry.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, we'll move on to Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Hi, Terry. How are you? Good to see you again.
Good, you too.
I'm interested in the number of website visits you had. And of course, that's an indicator of something. And then you mentioned later on about translating those into visits. If I go to the website right now and look at it and whatever, is there any follow-up? Like, would I get an email in 2 or 3 days? We've noticed you visited our website. You might be, you know, just kind of a thing to keep in touch with people. Is that part of the setup?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you come to our website, then you're tagged, and there's a lot of automation that happens. So you would start seeing Cape Breton pop up wherever you're going, if you're on social media.
Yeah, even with ads on Facebook or
Yeah.
CNN or whatever, because it's amazing, right? You go looking for a car battery somewhere, and then the next time you go to another website, they've got car batteries up in the corner because they know what you've been looking for. So that's how the follow-up is done, and that's, yeah. And
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
It's
for
called
the
it's called remarketing. And by
Yeah.
the by, it was Dan Coffin who educated me about remarketing. So
okay, congratulations. But and it obviously is effective too, because the amount of money these companies spend on doing that, it must pay off for them. So that's good to know.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I think you're muted again, Larry.
Doing great with this technical advances. We'll move on. Thanks to Councillor Patterson. We'll move on to Councillor Organ.
Hi, Terry. Great information. I was wondering if it was broken down within counties, how many nights people are staying, and if campgrounds are included in that, because Victoria County, I mean, we have Parks Canada, and the campgrounds are filled from June on. So I was just wondering about if those numbers were included.
Yeah, I don't have a breakdown by county. That is something that we can get, that we will certainly look into. Campgrounds are not included, so no, that would be even more visits on top of that.
And can I ask, you say it's just done digitally, our advertisement, is that only on the the internet, or is that done commercials too? Because if you're going to do commercials,
Yeah.
you should get the people that do Newfoundland's commercials, because they are the best advertisements for their province.
Yeah, well, I'd love to have Newfoundland's budget for the production.
I know
They do
that,
an
but-
amazing job, and I totally agree. They're the gold standard. So we strive to do the best we can with the budget we have, but yeah, they do a wonderful job. We do commercials, but only within the Maritimes. And what we found is that when we invest in commercials on particularly on CTV news, so Live at 5 and the News at 6 in particular, they do amazing for us. That it's the #1 news program by quite a bit within the Maritimes, and watched widely. So we still do that advertising in the Maritimes, but we used to do some in Ontario, and you don't have like one news source that you could advertise on. That like it's a lot more fractured, and it's a lot more expensive there. So we tried that for a few years, but we found we can have much more return on investment from going strictly digital in Ontario. But yeah, so that's where we do the most of our advertising, and that's on YouTube, Facebook, Google, Instagram, and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, but it would be interesting if we could get the campgrounds included into our statistics there. Thanks, Terry.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Councillor Organ. We'll move on to Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Warden. Thank you, Terry. It's nice to see you this afternoon. As Councillor Organ said, the campgrounds, one of the biggest ones is in District 8, the Hideaway Campground, and it's a very productive area for District 8. The thing I was just wondering, how is your partnership with Develop Nova Scotia? Because I've had many businesses in this area that have connection issues, whether that be with fiber optic or internet. Is there any work that's in progress with them? Because that seems to be, we're trying to promote our end of the island up here, and the cell service and fiber optic is the main issue for us up here.
Yeah, so well, as you probably have heard, Develop has now folded into Build Nova Scotia, but they still have the responsibility for that. We have a representative of Build Nova Scotia on our board, so we've got a pretty good relationship. To be honest, a lot of our conversations with them is more around tourism specific projects, like the Seawall Trail, for one example. Yeah, we have made the case that improving cell coverage and high-speed internet is definitely a concern for much of the island. And partly, I was telling you before in the presentation about research, and part of the challenge that we had with the research project that we're working on is that we can't get good data, mobile data in much of the island because of no cell coverage. So that's really been a challenge for us as well. I live in a rural community in Marion Bridge, and I broke down and got Starlink because I was too frustrated with the internet that just wasn't doing the job. So I feel your pain. I would encourage anybody who wants to invest in Starlink. There's even a program now that has worked extremely well for us. But yeah, we've I think all collectively have to keep on advocating for better cell coverage and high-speed internet in all areas of Cape Breton.
Yes, just with your presentation, I want to commend you on your pictures there. And I was the couple that was sitting out at the picnic table down at the Markland Resort in Dingwall. You see the Sugarloaf Mountain in the background. It's very nice picture they have in your presentation. And it's also good on an end note to welcome the festivals and events program back. That's a welcome addition.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, that's it, sir. Thank you very much for the presentation, and it's good seeing you again as always.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Yeah, Terry, no, thanks very much. Great presentation, as I said, and I'm really happy to see the Cape Breton research going on because over the years, many a times we meet with bureaucrats in Halifax and they always doubt that our stats are right. So a lot of times they believe it's the other end of the problems, but it's great to have that information. And once it's put together, I'm sure it'll pay dividends. The other thing you mentioned was the community or the cooperation with the winter tourism with the Celtic Lodge and Ski Cay Smoky. I just wanted to thank you very much for looking into that and working with them. The one thing I did hear from some residents is they thought the marketing and stuff was a little late coming out. So I'm not sure if that's being worked on, that maybe we can get it into the late summer, into the fall, get things out there so people are aware, and hopefully we can increase in business. Again, winter was a big issue down here this year. Wasn't much of a winter starting off, but paid big dividends in the end. In March, we had some amazing skiing and a lot of visitors in the area, and a lot of that comes from the marketing and stuff with Destination Cape Breton. So I'd like to thank you for that. And with that, unless you have any other comments, have a great day, and we look forward to having you back at council again in the near future.
I just wanted to add, so we get to work closely with Dan and Colleen, and what you have in terms of having dedicated folks working on tourism and quality people there is something that no other municipality has on the island. So kudos to all of you for putting that investment there, because they do phenomenal work, and they're great partners for us.
No, that's great, Terry. And as a council and administration, we definitely admire the staff that we have. We've been very lucky, and we've got some great employees. So thank you very much for those comments. It's greatly appreciated.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
Thanks, Terry. With that, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from March the 20th. Those minutes have been circulated. If everybody has a chance to look them over, if we would look for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McNeil. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor, say aye. Contrary minded. Motion passed. So the minutes from March 20th have been approved. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Any business arising? Hearing none, we'll move on. The next thing is under discussion. Maybe we'll pass over to Leanne for that.
Yeah, great. So we are taking on some initiative in trying to get some more policies and bylaws in place. As you know, at our last committee of the whole, we discussed the next step on the local improvement bylaw charge. So we realized that we don't have a municipal fee policy in place, and these are not new fees. It's just not put into a policy. So we just wanted to have a policy in place that we're hoping council will approve, that it is something, so there's something to refer to. So we have it all in one place. One thing that I do want to bring to your attention, our fish offal that we collect is still nowhere near the tipping fee that we charge is nowhere near enough to cover the costs of that. Our cost is probably we could charge 2 times as much and still not break even on that. In the past, we have charged them a tipping fee and then charged them extra for the overtime that is incurred for that. So I'm just wondering if that is something that council is interested in having us do again. So I guess there's 2 questions here. One is the municipal fee policy, and the second is the tipping fees piece of it related to the fish offal.
Yeah, Leanne, I think the policy on the fees definitely is a must, that we have to get something done on that. So if staff can work on that and get something to us, that would be greatly appreciated. As far as the tipping fees also, I'm not sure if maybe we can do some comparisons with Inverness and other counties that are in the area, see where we are with that. Not sure if it was always meant to be to reclaim all the costs or expenses associated with it or not, but if you could put some information together where we at and what the costs are, and maybe present that to council might be a good idea.
Yeah, so I have sent out a municipal fee policy for as it stands currently. And we can gather some stats on what they are for organic materials for sure. There is no other municipality collecting these at this point close to us. CBRN is, I think. But yeah, we will come back with some numbers on that one so we can make an amendment if need be. But I'm wondering if you're interested in passing the municipal fee policy at this time as it stands. These are all, as I said, these are all current. These are what we charge. We're just putting them into one policy.
I'm in agreement. I'll ask for council's indication on it for the rest of the council. Anybody have any comments on that? Fraser, Councillor Patterson?
Yeah, thank you very much, Larry. So Leanne, you said this is just really just consolidating the fees we're already charging. I briefly read through it.
It is. There is one other increase that we're talking about. So fish plant tipping fees is one that is of concern to us. Another one that we think we should put up is our interest rate that we charge on property taxes.
Yes, definitely.
So we've been putting a lot of work into this. We're doing really great at collections. We've done an average and taken a poll across the province on other charges, and others are between 15 and 18% currently. Currently, right now, we charge 10%. We are recommending that the amount goes up to 18% on anything. It's just good practice that you want to pay your higher interest bills first, and that would make us higher on residents' priorities. So
are you looking for a motion on that, Leanne? Is that what you'd like to have?
Yeah.
Okay. So council, any other questions? And if no questions?
Yeah, just sorry, Larry, just a couple of things I just wanted to be clear on. I agree 100%, Leanne. I said that for years. I think we should have a higher interest rate because, you know, we're in business. Most people will say if I've got a bill at 18% and I got a bill at 12%, I'll pay the 18% one first and let the 12 one ride. You know, and that's how I think we have to operate. But again, I just want to be clear, the other fees, none of them are increased in the document you sent us. They're all just consolidating, putting them together in kind of one place or whatever.
they're just putting them into one place.
Yeah. So therefore, I would move that we accept the policy, Deputy Warden.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second the motion, Deputy Warden.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so that is one piece. Next, so the Village of Bedak has sent us a request. So as you should know, when we receive our gas tax, 15% of our gas tax goes to the Village of Bedak, and we hold it on their behalf. We do not release it until there is a spend and on capital items that meet the gas tax criteria. The village is doing a smart meter upgrade within the village, and they have made a request to have their gas tax released to them. So they are looking for $450,000 to be taken from what we have in their gas tax reserve to pay for their smart meters. So their motion is, given the importance of the changeover to smart meter in the Village of Bedak, I move that the village commissioners of Bedak get approval to withdraw $450,000 from the Canada Community Building Funds, formerly the Gas Tax Fund, to be used to complete the smart meter upgrades in the Village of Bedak. So we do have that money in a reserve for them. So they are asking for their money to pay for the smart meter.
So just to be clear, Leanne, they do meet the criteria what the gas tax fund is required for. So yeah. So with that, do we have a motion from anybody at council?
I'll make that a motion.
Thank you, Councillor McNeil. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Second by Councillor McDonald. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I have a couple of things for down and other, but just wanted to bring up the town of Port Hawkesbury is hosting Mawami, or I may not be saying it correctly. We need to learn these things. Mamaway Friendship Gala sponsorship. They have made a request for the municipality of Victoria to sponsor it in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. The money and the sponsorship will go towards the gala, and then it also goes to benefit the Wakemaa Family Health Healing Center and the Leaside Society. There are several different options available for sponsorship. They need to know by May 10th if we are planning on sponsoring it. So the different levels are dinner sponsorship of $5,000, a dessert cafe of $2,500, music and culture sponsorship of $1,000, or a Friends of the Mi'kmaq Friendship Gala of $600. Wondering if this is of interest to any of you.
Thanks very much, Leanne. I think it's an excellent initiative by the town of Port Hawkesbury, and I give them kudos for going forward with this. And I really think it's important that we show our support for such initiatives. Again, I'll put it out to council for your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I move that we sponsor the $2,500 level. Leanne, that's the sponsorship level, is it?
There are different levels.
Yeah, but that's one of the levels, right? The highest level, 2,500.
That's not
for
the highest. The highest is 5,000.
Okay, we'll go 2,500. I would say for the event that's being held in Port Hawkesbury.
So is that a motion, Councillor Patterson?
Yes, make a motion.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder for the $2,500 sponsorship for the initiative by the town of Port Hawkesbury?
I second that.
Second by Councillor McNeil. All in favor indicating by saying aye or
Aye.
raising your hand. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you. So those are the discussion points that I had. I have a couple of other things down in other and a couple of other correspondence, but that's all that I have there.
Okay, great. It is 3:15. What we'll like to do at this time is take a 15-minute recess. So we will adjourn again at 3:30. Thank you.
Hi, Paul.
What's new?
In my lifetime, I have never seen the Leafs come back
Oh, I
2
know.
games in a row. Like last night, I gave up 4-1 at third of the third period. Here we go again.
I texted Pius after the second period. I said, boy, your Leafs are good tonight.
Yeah, I just saw a thing. Buntington is ready to come back after his suspension
Oh,
tomorrow
yeah.
on Thursday. He's not. The new
Oh,
guy's
no.
going to play. Well, he played some well last night. That Rise
Yeah.
saved the goal, and then he had a couple of good chances too. He's only 20 years old. Man, he played college hockey in the States
Well,
this year.
they have a chance this year. They do.
And Samsonov is playing
Didn't
well
think I'd ever
too.
hear Paul McNeil say that, but anyway, we're still live here, guys.
That's right, Larry. But I was just telling Paul, I don't know if you heard, Buntington can't come back on Thursday after his suspension.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah,
They don't think he is. They think the young guy will play.
yeah, nice.
Like he
Playing
saved
quite
that
well.
goal last night, and he had a
Quite
couple
well.
of good chances. So
Well, it's good.
yeah.
As long as we keep moving that way.
Well, I don't think I ever remember them winning 2 games like that. Come back to
Come
win
back, yeah.
in overtime.
Usually it's the other way around. We've got the lead and we lose it.
That's exactly it.
We're just gonna wait a couple more minutes there. Got 2 more minutes and then we'll get going again.
So did you see the comment I sent to Bruce? Maybe people were asking you to leave their country.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was there. I thought he was out west.
Oh, no.
Just a reminder, everyone, you're still on Facebook Live.
Oh, really?
We're sure everybody's interested in the Toronto Maple Leafs there, Leanne. So.
That's right.
I'm
Don't
sure
think
they
it's just
are.
the intermission. Don't think it's the intermission of the hockey game. That's all.
Yeah. We got about 2 minutes left there, guys, and then we'll get going again.
You mean everybody heard me say that I think the Leafs have a chance this year?
Yeah, that's right, Paul. That's on the record now, Larry. What?
We've got it taped, so we're good. We'll just
I
keep
heard
playing
it,
that over and
Paul.
over again.
I heard the call. I'm not too happy about it, but I heard it.
Okay, guys, 1 more minute and we'll get going. I think everybody's back. Yeah. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. We're back after the break, and the next thing on the agenda is district concerns. And what we will do is start on the top of the island with Councillor McDonald.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Deputy Warden. I'm just referring to my notes here. These were actually concerns that were brought up a little while back, but here it goes, because you're probably wondering, but I've had calls from residents of Shore Road in regards to the blocking of South Harbour Channel. The water levels have reached a high this peak season without proper drainage from channel to the ocean. I was in contact with Morley McNeil in regard to these concerns, and the channel has been a continuous concern for numerous years in District 8, and it needs an attention solution. A meeting is proposed to take place with DNR and Victoria County representatives along with Environment sometime in April. The meeting was, it's to try to alleviate a different route for the water to come out of the harbor to exit back out, because it's something that blocks every year, and it's hard to explain, but most of the residents feel that it's Victoria County's responsibility to take care of this, because where their lands, the harbor backs up and it goes back up on their property and that. But really, I think in conversation with the EMO that it's basically DNR or fisheries responsibility. So this is something that's been beat around the bush for years and years. And I think that I was in conversation with Morley McNeil, and he's actually taken the steps. He wants to have a meeting with residents of South Harbour, namely down Shore Road area and Victoria County. So I'd like to make a motion to that effect, that this meeting was supposed to take place in April, and as we know, April is now at the end, and there still has been no meeting arranged. So if I can make a motion to have a letter sent to DNRR with respect to having a meeting tabled with Victoria County representatives, myself included, residents of Shore Road and South Harbour, DNR and Environment, if they so wish to attend. I'd like to make that motion, please.
I'll
There's a
second
motion
that.
on the table. Norman, you may also want to include the federal representatives. I think they may be involved in it too. So both federal
Yes.
and provincial.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So with that edit, maybe we go for a motion on that, please. Anybody like to motion that? Or the motion is on the table. I'd like to have a second for that motion, sorry.
I'll second it.
Next.
Seconded by Councillor Organ. All in favor indicate by aye or raising your hand. Contrary minded. Motion is passed.
Great, thank you. Just lastly, basically I want the minutes to reflect was I had calls from residents in the area with regard to the Fiona financial assistance that was put out by the federal government some time back. I've had many people, namely up in this area, that had filled out the proper forms and everything and sent it into the appropriate levels, but they never received any funding, while others had received the initial $500 funding that came from the feds. And they were just asking if there's anything on the municipality's part that we could reach out to somebody, maybe try to get some answers for them with regard to that. So I called Jaime Batista office. Federal was in contact with Sean Tobin, and they are looking into the matter. So I just would like the minutes to reflect that if I could.
No, that's excellent, Norman. And even in my area, some people that applied were told they had to go to Sydney for the meeting to justify it, which was not possible for everyone. So it'll be interesting to see what they come back with. But thanks very much for doing that for your residents. And is that it for you, sir?
Nate, lastly, just with road issues, I've been in contact with TIR, and Mr. McDonald is aware of what concerns with the roadways up here in District 8, waiting for the grader at that time of year. And that's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Norman. We'll move on to Councillor Organ.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I've also received many emails and calls like Councillor McDonald over the Shore Road. So I'm eager to see that settled. The street light for the intersection at White Point has been installed. Woo! Yeah, and it was broke, so they had to come and replace it. I also contacted the water department, Mr. Weir, to tell them of a complaint I received from residents about the damage done to their yard and driveway when repairs were made to the water treatment plant in New Haven. He said he would look into the matter for me. I've also contacted Steve in Public Works for a block culvert, and I'd like for the minutes to reflect that I have called and contacted him again and again and again for the no parking sign for White Point residents for the bus turning. And that's all I have today. Oh, no, sorry. I would like to make a motion. I, Councillor Organ, move that Victoria County provide funds for the staff at Highland Manor to travel to Prince Edward Island to review a new 24-bed manor recently constructed that is similar to the proposed new Highland Manor that will be situated in Neils Harbor. This will enable staff to be better prepared to make requests in the development at the new manor in Neils Harbor. Maximum fund allowed should be $2,500 plus HST.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that, Deputy Warden.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion passed. Thank you, Councillor. Is that it?
Now, I'd like to apologize. I'm going to have to keep shutting my camera off because my internet connection is very sketchy today. So I am still here, but I will have my camera off. Okay?
Thanks very much, Councillor. We appreciate it. And we'll move on to Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. A couple of meetings ago, I'm not sure how long ago, we had a presentation from Build Nova Scotia is it now instead of Develop Nova Scotia. And I had asked a question about the northern side of Bullitree of Mr. Klein, I believe. I didn't contact him yet. I think I will if I can get his address. But I happened to take a drive over there the other day, and there are spools of cable sitting along the roadway and everything. So there might be something going on, but I don't know of it. These people have been waiting. It must be close to 2 years since we got it on the north side. I'm talking the south side, I should have said. We got it on the north side probably 2 years ago, and the south side is still quite an area that's not serviced. So I just want to kind of put that in the minutes that I'll look into it. The other thing too, and I think Councillor McGinnis started this during his tenure on council, was having a newcomers night, and I believe Councillor McNeil participated in one on his side of the island not that long ago, and it's been suggested that we have one or possibly even two on Bulladry. So I'm just putting in place the picking a date and so on and so forth in the format, and hopefully get that done either in this late spring or early summer when people will be around and so on. So just want to have that entered in the minutes too. Thank you, Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. That's an excellent initiative there. And Councillor McLeod has indicated she has no district concerns, so we will move on to Councillor McNeil.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Just a few issues with Nova Scotia Public Works. Again, spring grading has to be done, has to be started. I was in touch with Steve McDonald about these issues. I just wanted to let people know. Also, a culvert on South Cove has to be replaced, and the Washbook Road is in dire need of patching. And again, I was in touch with Steve McDonald on this, on these issues, and he's looking into it. And I would like to make a motion that $1,000 be taken from my district budget for the Nova Scotia Highland Village to go towards sponsoring a youth music and Gaelic camp.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it, sir.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor, either say aye or raise your hand. Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that. And further to what Councillor Patterson said, I was in touch with Mr. Klein too, with Build Nova Scotia, about the delay with Little Naris hooking up for broadband. Again, he said he's going to have to get back to me about the issue, so I'm waiting for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I do have one
Question, Deputy Warden. Councillor McNeil, could you send me, that was through email, I assume, was it, Councillor?
Yes, it was.
Could you send me his email address, please, if you could?
I will. Yep.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Councillor Morrison was not able to attend today, but he did pass on one motion that he asked me to present to council. I, Councillor Bruce Morrison, moved that a letter be sent to Minister Mashlin and Deputy Minister Hackett requesting areas of Victoria County to be designated as approved locations under the Road Trails Act, which is Bill 273, allowing for access for limited motorized vehicles as noted in the Act to provincial roadways. Presently, requests have been received for the areas of both Ingonish and Badek, with the option to add additional areas in the future. Basically what it is, the new Road Trails Act states that if you have designated trails, you can, if approved, you can use provincial highways, the side of the highway, to transport from one area to another, either to another trail or to the amenities like gas stations and whatnot, but it has to be approved by the province. So I'll make that a motion based from Councillor Morrison, looking for a seconder for that motion.
I second that.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion passed, so that letter will be sent. From my own district, again, getting a few calls in regards to highways, Department of Public Works. Main issue seems to be shoulders. I did have communication with Area Manager McDonald, and he indicates that shoulders are going to be looked into in the near future once things dry up. So hopefully we'll see some repairs done to our shoulders. They're in extremely bad shape here north of Smoky, so let's keep our fingers crossed. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was the if we could make a request again to Nova Scotia Power. During Fiona, there was 2 street lights on the top of Smoky that the municipality pays for. One of them blew down. It was removed and never replaced. So I know staff has put in a request, but I'm just wondering if we could follow up. It's it's been months since Fiona, and still no light has been there. So that's all from District 6. With that, we're going to move on to any motions or anything there, other stuff, Leanne?
Yeah, I do have a couple. So we have, I think we did one step of this, but Ross McDonald was down to visit me this past week, and he said we have one other step related to the Bedeque Volunteer Fire Department and the
Okay.
transfer of the land. He said that we made the motion to put it up for a community meeting, and now that the community meeting has been had, which happened in November, we now have to do a motion where we're okay to transfer the land and sell it. So there's a motion here that a public meeting was held November 21st, 2022, in accordance with section 446A of the Municipal Government Act, hosted by the Village of Bedeque, to discuss the transfer of land co-owned by the Village of Bedeque and the municipality of Victoria County to the Bedeque Volunteer Fire Department. That given the feedback from the public meeting was supportive of the transfer as described, and that the Bedeque Volunteer Fire Department is a registered nonprofit and is conducting activity that is considered beneficial to the village, be it therefore resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Victoria County agrees to convey the property at 420 Chebucto Street, Bedeque, PID 85019255 to the Bedeque Volunteer Fire Department at less than fair market value, and that the county will relinquish title to the property dependent on the following conditions. If the fire department wishes to sell the property in the future, the county and the village will be given first right of refusal. So that's a motion.
So would somebody like to make that motion? Councilor McNeil has made a motion there. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor McDonald. All in favor, either say aye or raise your hand. Contrary minded? Motion is passed. Thank you, Leanne.
Perfect. I have two other proclamations. There is one proclamation that was sent to us asking that we adopt that the month of May be Lyme disease prevention and Lyme disease awareness month. So wondering if we could have that as a proclamation.
Sure. Do you want me to read it or are you going to read it, Leanne?
You go right ahead.
Figured as much. Thank you. Lyme Disease Awareness Month. Whereas Lyme disease is a serious illness caused by the bite of a black-legged tick infected with the bacterium Borrelia batafari, whatever. And whereas black-legged ticks carrying a variety of diseases or illness can now be found in all parts of Nova Scotia. And whereas awareness, education, and practicing preventive measures such as daily tick checks and proper tick removal can help reduce your chance of contacting tick-borne diseases. Therefore, it be resolved that I, Deputy Warden Larry Daphne, on behalf of the municipality of the County of Victoria, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Lyme Disease Awareness Month. Date of this day, the 25th day of April, 2023. And that is the proclamation. So do we need a motion for that also, or?
I think so. I think we do. I think we need
Maybe just
a
be safe.
motion to accept that proclamation.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to accept that proclamation. Motion made by Councillor Patterson, seconded by
Jackie is,
oh, Jackie is. I've not seen her on my screen there. So, okay, thanks, Councillor Organ. And we now have the motion has been moved and seconded. Do everybody in favor indicate by saying aye or raising your hand? The motion has passed.
and that's all the motions and proclamations that I had.
Okay, is there any correspondence?
Yes, just wanted to let you know that all the letters that we have received have been forwarded on. There hasn't been a whole lot coming in. However, just want to make note that we received a letter from the Provincial Department of Economic Development related to healthy discussions that were had around the province regarding our RENS program, our Regional Enterprise Network Systems, I believe is the last word. And the Provincial Department of Economic Development will be in touch regarding go forward steps on continuing these. So So just wanted to let you know that that's a correspondence that we received.
Okay, that's excellent. Next is committee reports, and we also have an issue from.
Excuse me, Deputy Warden, can we consider that FCM
Yeah,
resolution?
that's where I'm going with that under committee. Yeah, that's what.
Oh,
we're
I'm
doing.
sorry, I thought you were gonna do it already. No
Yeah,
problem.
no, sorry. Yeah, just, is there any other committee reports before we proceed to that?
No, I have some other things. on the agenda.
Okay, so under that, there has been a resolution presented by Councillor Patterson to be a member of the board of directors for the Federal Canadian Municipalities. Everyone has received a copy of that. Fraser, would you like to just explain? Is this the same thing that you did the last 2 years? Is it the exact same?
No, it's not exactly the same, Deputy Warden. Thank you. The last 2 years I served on committees and they are appointed by the president. This would be an election at the annual meeting to, I believe there are 4 representatives from Nova Scotia and they alternate terms. So I think there's 2 up for re-election this year. So there could be 2, there could be 4, there could be 6, many people submit their names. So this is just, I need a resolution from council that you were aware and support my putting my name in place for the election to the board of directors. Yeah, so it is a bit different than what I've been doing the past 2 years.
Okay. I know you ran the last 2 years. I'm just wondering, how expensive is this? Like, I know that not all municipalities do it, but any idea of what it cost for the last 2 years? And is it going to be more as board of directors? I'm just wondering how much they meet.
That's a good question. Deanne, I don't know if you have any idea. I would estimate this year it was probably between $5,000 and $6,000. I was in Ottawa and I was in Edmonton.
It's about $10,000.
Was it close to 10? Okay, yeah, I'm not sure of the figures, but
Okay. With the board of directors, would it be more meetings, Fraser, or less? And are they available virtually?
I think there may be one more meeting. And they've also had Zoom meetings too. Not all meetings are live, so there are some Zoom meetings too. So it does, yeah, there's a cost, there's no doubt about it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that was my concern, was really the cost of it and stuff like that. But I say if virtual meetings are available, then it's really not much cost if we do it virtually. But I think the other thing, I was thinking of this last night, is that with the cost and stuff, even though it's travel, we still have a travel policy. So I think it wouldn't be a blank check to travel. I think you'd still have to apply to the warden for permission to travel, same as according to our travel policy. But again, I think if the meetings are virtual, I think that's awesome that, that will cut down on the cost. So.
Yeah, I don't think they all are, Deputy Warden, but I think some of them are. I'm not sure if all of them would be.
Okay. It's really up to council's decision. Any thoughts
Right,
from
exactly.
the members? Hearing none, would you like to read the resolution, Fraser?
I don't actually have it in front of me.
I have it. I can read it.
I have to go to my email to look at it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll read it so council's aware of it. It says, Federation of Canadian Municipalities election to the board of directors. Whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, represents the interests of members of municipalities on policy and program matters that fall within federal jurisdiction. Whereas the FCM's board of directors is comprised of elected municipal officials from all regions and sizes of communities to form a broad base of support and provide FCM with the united voice required to carry the municipal message to the federal government. And whereas FCM's annual general meeting will be held in conjunction with the annual conference and trade show, May 25th to 28th, 2023, followed by the election of the FCM's board of directors. Be it resolved that the council of the county of Victoria, Nova Scotia endorse Councillor Fraser Patterson to stand for election on FCM's board of directors for the period starting May 2023 and ending in June 2024. And be it further resolved that council assumes all costs associated with Councillor Fraser Patterson attending FCM's board of directors meetings. So that is the resolution. And again, I even though it says that on the end about things, I still think that we'll have to look at each one. It's not just a blank check. So based on that, I'll put that out to council for your thoughts. You're not hearing anything. Is everybody in agreement that Fraser Patterson put his name up for nomination for the FCM board of directors?
I agree.
Is anybody contrary minded? Nope, not hearing any. We pass that, the resolution is passed, Mr. Patterson, or Councilor Patterson.
Thank you, Council. And Deputy Warden, I think you bring up a good point too. It would still have to go through the travel out of province, approved by the warden or the CAO, I believe can do that too. So
Yeah,
thank you very much. Thank you, Council, for the, and I didn't get elected yet either, so I mean, might be all for naught.
Well, but anyway, that's kudos for at least putting your name forward. That's greatly appreciated. Other business, anything else there, Leanne?
Yeah, just have a couple of things. Just want to make everyone know, let everyone know that our community garden plots have been built. Again, they were taken down last year. They have been rebuilt. We're doing things a little bit differently this year. We are taking applications starting this week. There will be a random draw for the spots. So there are new rules and regulations. We've looked across the province and gathered a similar template to what others have. And that will have to be signed prior to giving out the spots. So that's one thing. So our community garden plots will be available starting this week. To let everyone know, I think it's everyone's favorite time of year. Heavy garbage is starting May 8th. Our messaging started out yesterday. Our crews are not our regular collections crews. Our crews will be going around one time. We are advising all residents to have their things out by May 7th. There's only going to be one wipe through, so can't guarantee the day that's not your regular garbage day. So, but the most wonderful time of the year is what we hear is heavy garbage. That will be starting May 8th. And one last thing. We are expecting on May 2nd, right before our budget session, that at 1 p.m. we will be having the raising of the Scottish flag in honor of Scottish Heritage Month. And Sam McLean will be here to read a declaration for us on May 2nd.
Thank Councilor McNeil, you had a question?
I'm just warning with our heavy garbage, there might be a big pickup in some areas because of no heavy garbage in CBRM until at least later in the year. So
That's true, Phil.
Yeah.
So just Deputy Warden, just the question, Leanne, is just to be clear, May 8th is the Monday?
May 8th
Of
is the
that week?
Monday. Yep.
Okay, but there's no guarantee, like District 5 gets their garbage picked up on Monday, right? There's no guarantee
So
that
District
heavy
5
garbage will go Monday.
District 5, so for example, in your area, Fraser, District 5 will have their regular garbage picked up on their regular day.
Mhm.
Their heavy garbage will be picked up anytime from the 8th to possibly the next week.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then like Councilor McNeil says, I have the same problem because it's not a very far drive from Millville to Big Brador to dump your garbage at midnight and head back into CPRN. So
Yeah, if it's
well,
at
I
the
think
end
we
of
have
the
to be prepared
road
for
and
that.
it meets our criteria, our people are very good.
Yeah.
But if it's
Oh, yeah,
there,
no, I
not
agree.
placed there until afterwards, we're not going back. So just.
And no, I agree. They do an excellent job. It's
They do.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I
also, I
think we
guess,
have some fun doing it too, so it's good.
I'd like to also recommend to our residents that if you're putting stuff out, please put it where your garbage is usually picked up. In the last couple of years, people have been taking it to an area that's not even on their land or whatever, and taking no responsibility for it. So we ask that you do keep it in the areas that are where your garbage is picked up. And again, if it's electronics are not included in that, and they will not be picked up afterwards, because every year we get calls on that. So
Right,
please
we
have
have
it out and-
messaging out with what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Exactly.
So please take a look.
No, that's perfect. The other thing, Leanne, I'm expecting requests shortly, and as the other councilors will, to have the community cleanup days and stuff, and usually we provide bags. Just wondering if Kelly could look at providing bags for each district.
We'll look into that. Yeah, we will get those out to you. Yep, for sure.
Just wondering if there's any questions from the public.
Let me check with Dan.
Deputy Warden, could
Yes.
No,
we,
nothing.
Deputy Warden,
Yes, Councilor Organ.
could we mention that May is coming fast and it's no mow May again
Yes, that's right.
for our bumblebees and stuff?
And as usual, we'll try to push that into June and July too. So, but yes, you're right. It is no mow May. So please, residents, keep that in mind, and hopefully we can save some bumblebees this year. That's an excellent point. Thank you, Councillor Oregon.
So, and just one other thing, there's a major announcement coming for the area on May 2nd for Little Aris Gypsum. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing it. Councillor McDonald.
Yes, just wondering to the CAO if we still doing Committee of the Whole on May 8th in beautiful District 8.
Certainly are.
Thank you. Just want to
Yes.
put that out there so the public's
Yep.
aware.
Yep, so we are having budget discussions on Monday. May 2nd. Let me check the schedule, what day that is.
Tuesday.
That is Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that'll be day 3 of that. Then the following week on May 8th, we will be having Committee of the Whole down there, and we will probably be doing grant discussions as well down there.
In Bay St. Lawrence, no?
Actually,
It's
gonna-
in Bay St. Lawrence? on
No,
May
actually to hold it in Cape North at North Island. North
Cape
Extension.
North.
In your calendar.
Thank
It's on
you.
the calendar on the municipal website.
Perfect. Thanks very much, everybody. So the next meeting will be a Committee of Whole meeting on May the 8th. And Leanne, do you have the date there for the next council meeting?
Yes, our next council session is May 23rd.
So May 23rd, and that will be in person in Bedeck, I take it?
It's scheduled that way. Could very well be. We might do a virtual for that one as well.
Okay, no,
We'll
that sounds
discuss.
good. We'll wait and hear the word on that. Unless there's anything else to come to council, I'll ask for someone to make a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by
Oh.
Councillor McNeil. Thanks very much, guys. Have a good evening.
take
Thank you.
care, guys.
Folks,
Thank you,
thanks.
everyone.